Alrighty. Good morning, all, or good evening, wherever you are on this planet. I've decided I want to do a tier list. I've actually have done a Resident Evil list already, um, but I thought now since I've had a chance to play Village, I haven't beaten it yet, but I think it's time that I grade it along with the rest of the games here. So here I go. If you don't agree with my picks, or if you do agree, great, or too bad. This is my list. You can find this at tiermaker.com and type in Resident Evil. So my list here, I'm going to actually hold on a second. Let's delete this. I haven't played because now I have played everything. I'm also going to change these to the color of the rainbow. Oops, wait a minute. Color of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, that kind of stuff. Blue and purple, not purple. Okay, so first off on the list here, we have Resident Evil 1. And I put this in the B section because it's a great game, great starting off point for the franchise, but it has its limitations and drawbacks, voiceovers and crap like that. So of course, it loses some points, but it's still a fun game and always fun to go back to every now and then. Second one here, of course, Resident Evil 2. This was actually my very first game that I actually played. I actually played the original way back in '96. My older brother had the PlayStation 1 game, but I kept dying and getting killed, so I didn't really like it. But then I got Resident Evil 2 for Nintendo 64, and that one like really started it for me. My love and my interest for Resident Evil. So yeah, of course. I mean, that's, I think, a lot of people's favorites. Now, moving on, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I did have it at S originally, and it is a great game, but I think I'm going to now put it in the A section because it's not as, for me, it's just not as good as 2. It's not, gosh, how do I put it? It's, you know what, fuck it. I'm putting it back to S. Okay, it's a great game, and I like it. I was gonna put it at A because it did feel a little, not as lived in as 2. I mean, 2 you can replay it over and over, but with 3 you can go all over the city and stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm gonna actually leave it at S. It's good. Survivor, oof. Yeah, this game you can beat within an hour if you know what you're doing, maybe even less. I'll probably do a stream of it one day, but as of right now, that game's a D. I am not too fond of it, to be honest. So moving on, we have Code Veronica. And yeah, it's a B. It's a B game. Great game, but for me, it's a really long, laborious game. Getting through it. The missions are great. It's great classic Resident Evil, even with like the dolly cam kind of. It's not exactly fixed camera, but it kind of is. The camera kind of moves along, so they're of course experimenting and pushing it to new uh, visual heights. But it it's very hard. It's very hard for me to come back to for this game. I will probably do a stream of this one day, break it up into 2 parts with Chris and Claire. But yeah, B, very good game, solid game, but not one that I like to play often. Next one is Resident Evil Survivor 2. I played this on a PS2 emulator, and it's not very good. It's arcade style, excuse me, and it's not what you would hope it would be. It's just, it wasn't really well thought out, and it definitely belongs in the arcades rather than on the home consoles. That's just my opinion on it. Next one, Resident Evil Gaiden. I've been meaning to do a stream of this for the longest, but yeah, I've been putting it off. Not my favorite game. One of the big things that really get to me, besides the gameplay, is the music. Just the constant repetitiveness of the music. It just gets stuck in your head, and it just doesn't. It's you know. But it's a Game Boy Color game, so what do you expect? You know. Resident Evil 1 remake. Surprisingly, for a lot of people, I'm gonna put it as an A. I know some people like to put it as an S. Um, yeah, great game, great all around. Um, Much better than the original, I'll agree. But it's not my favorite that I'll jump back to, even though lately I've been doing Chris and Jill's missions again and again. Actually, no, I'll leave it at A. It's good. It's good. But you know what though? I'm gonna put Resident Evil 3 Nemesis at A. Again, both solid games, but you know, I just those aren't my go-to games. You know, just to go back and play again and again. But they are still good games. Resident Evil 0, I put this as a B because yeah, the missions and the zapping system, whatever, it's not totally fair, you know. It's fun to play, fun to do over. Wesker mode is a lot of fun, and it's a good game all around and part of the story. But something just feels very laborious. I go back to that word laborious a lot. It feels like a chore to play this game, and not as much fun as some of these other ones. Dead Aim. Yeah, this one. I'm still gonna keep it as a D. I'm looking at my old list, but so far the only thing that's changed is 3. I had it as an S, but I put it down to A. Dead Aim's just very hollow game, very hollow. I'm much more fun than this. All these games so far are much better than Survivor 2. Dead Aim, you know, has its own little side story. I guess there can be some fun to be had if you're playing it for the first time, but it's not the kind of game you want to go back to often. So this is interesting. I know a lot of people really love the Outbreak series, but I don't care for it. I'm putting both File 1 and 2 in the C range because I don't care about online capabilities. I don't care to play online with people. I don't have friends to play with online. I like to play alone. I like to play offline and single player. But of course, for its time back in 2003 and 2004 for both games respectively, the online capabilities weren't really all there. You couldn't communicate or chat with your friends, and ultimately it's just very useless. You know, I know now they have the you can go on the Biohazard board and play with people online, but those people like to play on very hard, and I'm not a very good player. I love Resident Evil, but I will admit I am not a good player of the franchise. I just like to play it simply, and if I have to play a hard difficulty mode, I use a trainer. That's a cheat for those of you who don't know what a trainer is. So yeah, Outbreak's just not really exciting for me, but it's good to play every now and then. Okay, Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Like Code Veronica, it feels very laborious. Again, that word. By laborious, I just mean like it's like if I think about playing the game, it's just very long. There are a lot of moments that just aren't interesting. I know the game is a game changer and whatever. For me personally, um, it's an A. I have been playing it again recently now that I have the PRL 412 laser. Um, you know, and I have everything unlocked, the hand cannon and the infinite Chicago typewriter and rocket launcher. So it's fun to play with when you have the advantage, but when you're, you know, a scrub playing from the beginning and you're trying to play it on difficulty or even normal, it's very hard and the game is very unforgiving. But it is a good game, and yeah, so it definitely belongs in an A. Deadly Silence is not even a game. Technically, it's an enhanced port of Resident Evil 1. So I'm actually going to put it as an F because I don't find any use for it. Um, the rebirth mode, unfortunately, for if you're using a Nintendo DS emulator, it does not work in certain parts using the keyboard and mouse, which is very disappointing. I got through the original mode, but you want to try the new stuff like the rebirth mode, and it just didn't work. So I was ultimately very disappointed, and it's just useless. Stick with the original for PlayStation 1 or whatever emulator you have or console you have, or play the remake. Stick with that. Don't worry about Deadly Silence. Umbrella Core. Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep it as a C. C. Umbrella Core. I'm not a fan of on rail shooter games. It's a nice thought, nice conception, and whatnot. And again, another change to the formula of Resident Evil. But yeah, I have a problem with it on my controller, so I have to use a keyboard and mouse for to get proper headshots and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I just find on rail shooters to be very uninteresting if I don't have control over where I'm going. Um, Resident Evil 5. I know a lot of people don't like this, but I don't go with the crowd. I liked it. I don't mind action or horror, so I'll give it a solid B. You know, Sheva's AI is trash, but you get to play as Chris. It's a whole wider scope within the franchise. Out in Africa, and uh, it's a good game. But like Zero, when you think about it, when I think about it, it's just very very uh, laborious. There's that word again. Dark Side Chronicles, yeah. C. Notice, yeah, file 1 and 2 of Outbreak and Umbrella Chronicles and Dark Side Chronicles are together. Again, another C. Not a fan of on-rail shooters. I would say though that Dark Side Chronicles is probably a little bit better story-wise. I really like the new stuff, but both of them. The new story with Chris and Jill in Umbrella Chronicles in Russia, Leon and Krauser in South America. That's cool. I don't really care to retread the stories of 0, 1, and 3, or 2 and Code Veronica, you know, but they're still good. And they're much better than these games down here. Uh, Mercenaries 3D F. There's really nothing to it. If you have a 3DS emulator, it might work, it might not work. But once you get past the problem, the black screen, all you have to do is press start on the black screen if you're getting that. It's not like a crash issue. It's just basically mercenary games for Resident Evil 4 and 5. If you want to play mercenary games, then play it on Resident Evil 4 and 5. There's no need to play it on 3DS or the Mercenaries 3D. Yeah, Revelations. I'm going to put it as B. Um, a better game, a better entry. There's 12 episodes. It feels like you're playing and watching a television series, which is cool. But there are some things, that aren't that fun. A lot of the gameplay seems repetitive, going back and forth, up and down the ship. The Queen Zenobia, the Queen Semiramis, Queen Semiramis, but the story is engaging. I like it. Um, so this one, Operation Raccoon City, a lot of people don't wow, blah, 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 particularly like. I like it, especially compared to Umbrella Core, which we'll get to in a minute. Um, I think it's more designed for online playing and multiplayer. As a single player, strictly single player only, I find it interesting being able to retread uh, the events of 2 and 3 in a way, fighting Birkin, fighting Mr. X, fighting Nemesis. It's cool, and introducing new characters. Uh, yeah, I would give it like a high C. It's like close, almost to a B, but it's a spin-off game, so I'll keep it mid-range. Resident Evil 6, this one of course is very divisive, and a lot of people probably will be like, what the fuck? But I liked it, and I give it a B. Along with 5, each mission is different. I like the crossing over between characters, even though you have to fight the bosses again. Like if you're doing Chris's campaign and you fight the big ogre man in Edonia, and then you have to do it in Jake's mission, Jake and Sherry's mission. You just did it with Chris and Pierce. But it's good to do it again because now you know what to do. When I first played it, I didn't know how to beat this fucking giant thing, you know. So it was good to be able to go back and do it again and be like, aha, now I know what to do, and finally get through it. Um, yeah, all missions I like. I like, you know, Leon has the zombies and it's horror with Helena, and you got Chris and Pierce, which is more action based, kind of like Call of Duty or Gears of War. I know a lot of people didn't like that, but whatever. Jake and Sherry's mission is kind of an interesting stalker mission. You know, I know the Eustanak is not an interesting villain, but I dug it. And Ada's mission too, Ada kind of tying into everybody else's missions. So I dug it. Resident Evil 6 is good. A little too blockbusterish, I'll admit, but you know. Revelations 2, I played that and played all 4 missions, which I found really enjoyable. Playing as Claire again, Moira. But you notice a pattern here. Revelations 2, and the same thing. Outbreak and the Chronicles games are kind of together. They're basically the same, you know. Resident Evil 2 brought back horror, more horror than the action-based Revelations. At times, Revelations 2 kind of had some Silent Hill influences, which I thought were really cool and neat. And the extra games are a lot of fun. So I like that. All right, Umbrella Corps. Bah. F. Yeah. I didn't want to believe that a game could be not so much bad, just not interesting. Not, no thought put into it other than online, you know, much like Operation Raccoon City. I think Umbrella Corps is geared towards online play. It has a single mission called The Experiment that you can play through. It's like 24 missions, but it's very hard. And if you get hit twice, you die. You know, it's a very unfair game. Very unfair game. And it wasn't really modified correctly to be playable for single player people. I think they were focusing more on the online aspect of it. And it's a disappointment. You'll need a trainer. You know, for me, it was at the Ganados, and I kept dying, and I got frustrated to the point where I didn't play this game for 3 months, I think. And then I discovered trainer cheats where you can get infinite lives, infinite ammo, infinite health, you know. So I used it and had to cheat in order to beat all 24 missions. So that should tell you something. So it's an F. Wow. Resident Evil 7, a solid A. I really like that they brought it back to the horror. I like that it was a haunted house, kind of. There was a mixture of genres and movie influences like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Ring, Saw. What's the other one that I'm always saying? There's a lot there. There's a good amount of influences from movies, just like Resident Evil 6 had a lot of Michael Bay influences. I'd say Biohazard really kicked it back to where it needed to be. So I really enjoyed it. Resident Evil 2 Remake is an S. The 2 games that are Resident Evil 2 based, the original and the remake, are just solid. There's so much content in 2 Remake, which is really great. And yeah, I just loved it. I loved it. One thing, well, you know what? It's funny. My one gripe about Resident Evil 2 Remake is that Claire and Leon's missions or scenarios are too similar. And, you know, you fight Birkin, you fight Mr. X. Of course, with Claire, X gets written out early. But I would have liked to have the variety that the original 2 Remake had with the A and B, you know, Claire A, Leon B, and then Leon A, Claire B. So it felt like 4 scenarios as opposed to just 2. But of course, you can always think like, well, Leon's scenario happens and Claire, you know, had another go around scenario, which we don't see, and vice versa with Claire. And then you don't see Leon. He has his own mission that don't parallel to each other. But again, a variety of gameplay would have been nice, but still, I can't stop playing Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 3 Remake, another divisive game among fans, but I liked it. I liked the game for what it was. I like that, you know, I don't compare it to the original three. You know, I would say maybe, nah, they're on equal level. I originally had Nemesis at S, but I think they're both equal, much like 2 and 2 remake. Um, they're they're similar. You know, the cut content is disappointing and whatever what could have been had they put more effort into 3 remake. But again, I don't compare it to remake, or excuse me, I don't compare a remake to Nemesis, the original. I liked it for what it was and what was presented, and I had a good time, and I do enjoy playing it again and again. Resistance, I don't care for online asymmetrical multiplayer games or whatever it's called. I have no use for it. Again, I'm a single player guy, and it's technically not a game, but this is what they have, you know. Um, so there's really not much to say about Resistance. I'm not impressed by it, and I'm probably not going to be impressed by Reverse when it comes out. When Reverse is released, it'll probably be the same results as Resistance. I don't care. I don't care. And finally, I'm still playing Village, but I think I have a good idea of where we're going with this. So it's an A. It's a solid A. The puzzles and the boss fights are a little too simplistic for my taste, but the environments, the exploration, everything that you can do in it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think they did a very good job. I can't wait to play Mercenaries mode. I haven't even played that yet, but so far I give it a solid A. I just wish that the puzzles and the boss fights were a little more challenging. I mean, I'm playing on standard, and it's my first playthrough, so they probably are more challenging. But I kind of agree with what I've read that some things are a little too easy. But ultimately, I'm really enjoying Village. So wow, that's it. So my only change from the last one was Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I had it as an S and now it's an A. Everything else is pretty much the same. I've now included Village. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm going to probably save that as my, I got to log in. All right. So I'll just stop right there. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, it's on tiermaker.com if you want to make your own list. I don't think I have a comment section, but if you like it, great. If you don't, what can I tell you? Alrighty, so I'm going to be playing, it's 11:30 now where I'm at. So I'm going to end this here, and then I'm going to start playing, hopefully the last part. It's part 5 of my first playthrough of Village, and we're up to Chris and Hound Wolf going after Miranda, so stay tuned for that. Alrighty, thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.